Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of VWIDTalk podcast. Today we are here with our friend Jeremy, who you may remember is the proud owner of the lowered ID Buzz with Porsche style wheels. And he has done many modifications that are really in a show quality. So they are amazing. If you want to see all of those, you can check the link right there to see the video where he previewed all these changes. But today we are talking about something else. We are talking about how the brake light works.
Yeah, the mystery for me, and thank you for having me on, Jan. The mystery for me always is I come from an ICE kind of background, and I've been building tuning cars. I know how brake systems work. I've upgraded brake systems to four-wheel disc on older Golf 2s and all those different things. And there's always a brake switch. So you know when you press the pedal, the lights are going to come on in the back, probably the third brake light if your car's new enough. But with one pedal driving, you don't know when that comes on and off. So if I put my car in the B mode, I would assume that when I lift my pedal, then the brake lights come on, but you've got more details than that, I presume.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So when you were driving with me in my car, you were kind of looking at the clone of the brake light that I have inside. So that was a mod that I did temporarily just to understand how the brake light works. And we had this beautiful discussion about, okay, when does the light come on? And really, it doesn't feel intuitive because back to your point, you're spot on that. Yes, there's still a switch, but the actual brake light is driven by the one of the car computers. So the car computer actually decides when the light comes on and how long does it stay on, right? And it's tricky because it also depends on those different driving modes. And you alluded to these driving modes already.
Right. So like in your car, you're a bit of a mad scientist because you've got the light on your dashboard that will indicate when the back brake lights are enabled or illuminated and not illuminated. So it was kind of fascinating to actually see those in action on your car as you were hurtling towards my car and not hitting the brakes and stuff. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the B mode because, of course, our car has those two B and D that you can flip on the shifter. The D is literally like your ICE car, so you're coasting. To accelerate, press the accelerator pedal, and to decelerate, of course, press the brake pedal, or to stop, you also press the brake pedal. Makes sense. Now, the B mode is a little different. And out of curiosity, are you driving the D or B? Which one are you driving?
Well, that was my question when I got the ID Buzz, because I was always an internal combustion engine guy. So it really was to be or not to be for me. And so I decided I've gone all in on B. The only time I do D is like if I'm on the freeway and I'm kind of more in coast mode, because I do believe that gives me a little bit more range than just pure B if I let off the gas pedal, but I might be wrong. So I stay in B most of the time.
And me too. And so I enjoy that because when I lift the foot off of accelerator pedal, then the car starts slowing down. And then if you want to even more decelerate, you can press the brake pedal. It's very intuitive. However, our cars don't come to a full stop. We come to a crawl somewhere around 2 to 3 miles per hour.
Yes, it's like a California stop.
It's like a California stop. Yes, exactly. I love it. And then we also talked about the travel assist mode. That's the mode that you engage with the buttons on your steering wheel. And we've actually talked about this, like how to properly engage it. I usually use the set button. I have it all the time on and press the set button to engage the speed. And then the car kind of accelerates, decelerates, even stops autonomously.
Okay, when I drive, I usually only use the set button when I'm using adaptive cruise. So it was news to me that you could use it just kind of between stoplights and everything as you're driving in the city.
Yeah, I'm also using it in the city. So maybe without any further ado, let's take a look at the mad scientist with a brake light on the dash and see how the car behaves in a D mode. So
let's do it.
Let's do it. So just to prove the point, this is D mode. You can see that I have a foot on the gas, and also you might be wondering what is on this iPad. So This is just a dashboard that shows acceleration. That's the top bar. We're not gonna talk about those very details, like 0.08 minus 0.08 Gs. That's what turns on the light. No, we just want you to see that as an illustration. So if the needle is to the right, we are accelerating. If the needle is to the left, we are decelerating. The more the needle is to the left, the faster we are decelerating.
Great.
So
show us how it works.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm driving towards a red light. This would be me as the first person on the red light. And so what I did, I have left my foot off of gas. You see that no foot is on the gas. The car continued coasting, and I had to physically press the brake for, well, first the brake light to come on. That's the light below the infotainment. And I also, of course, need to keep my foot on the brake, right? So that's
that's because you're in the D mode. So you're like in normal ICE like mode.
Exactly, exactly. And it works like that, pretty much the same way on the highways. I just left my foot off of the accelerator or gas. You see that we are recuperating, and we are slowly decelerating. So the car is not like actively braking in this moment, but it's like just slowing down very gently, right?
Right.
And you don't see the brake light coming on. And I tried it second time just to prove the point that, hey, I can do this again. If I lift my foot, you see that we are slightly decelerating, and the car continues coasting.
Okay. Yeah, so it's just basically D mode is like the driving that you've been doing your whole life before you had an EV.
Exactly. Exactly. Now the B mode. And again, the setup is very same. The only difference is that I'm in the B mode, and you have to kind of click into D twice to go into the D mode. And now here, very similar situation. I am driving towards a red light, and I left my foot off of the gas. So you see that the brake light is on. But as I get into coasting, you see the car would continue driving. So I need to physically press the brake to fully stop the car. And you saw that there was this small delay between when the car started coasting, then the light turns off, and then me pressing the brake pedal.
Right. So it has to do with the deceleration, the rate of deceleration.
Rate of deceleration, exactly, because that's how the car controls the brake light.
Yep. But do you know what the B stands for, by the way, versus D? D means drive, right?
So yeah, exactly. And so it's B braking. If you know, let us down in comments. What do you think?
Bremsen in German?
Bremsen,
I
ja.
Jawohl, es ist Bremsen, bestimmt Bremsen.
Bestimmt Bremsen, ja.
Ja, geht das.
So that's probably what it is. It's not brake, but it's Bremsen.
Yeah. It has to stand for something.
Something, exactly. Now, highway driving, as soon as I left my foot off of the gas pedal, then the light comes on and the car starts slowing more rapidly.
Yep.
And then if I press the gas again, of course, the brake light turns off, and I continue driving up. And so this was quite an interesting learning here, because I was not realizing that if I had this bad driving habit on a highway. As I was coming closer to somebody, I just left my foot off of the gas and then pressed it again and left again. And so I didn't realize that I'm actually flashing my brake light. Right?
I do this all the time. I didn't even think about it until you hit that light up on your dashboard. And then I was like, oh no, I'm probably brake lighting people and behind me as I'm lifting.
Yeah, exactly.
So B mode, basically it's not the ICE that you've been used to. It is literally, that's why it's got a play button on, at least on my my acceleration pedal, because when you lift off the play button, you are kind of pausing, braking the car, but once that decelerates to a certain point where there's no longer a force of deceleration, then the light comes off because you're kind of coasting at that point too. So it's a bit different than just let off the gas or the play button and brakes come on. There is that kind of hidden mode where you're coasting and the brake lights come off because you're going at a more predictable rate of deceleration, I guess.
Yep.
So okay, so there's another mode though that you alluded to, the third one, which is around the assisted driving mode. So what happens there?
So it's actually interesting that it does not matter in this mode if you're in B or D. And so that's why we talk about it as a third mode, because it kind of is, because the car decides on its own. So it's more autonomous. So in this situation, I am coming closer to a stop and go traffic. And so as I'm approaching you will soon see a white BMW ahead of me. I'm always hesitant, like, will the car start stopping in time? So you see that my foot will move over the brake a little bit, but I haven't touched it. So I will momentarily see the car right here. And you see that the brake light engaged and the car is slowly coming to a full stop behind the BMW right ahead of me. Okay, so
Yes.
I'm pressing nothing. It just stays on. I'm standing, the car is fully stopped and the brake light is still turned on. Now, as the traffic keeps moving, then I will lightly press the accelerator to keep driving, and the brake light turns off, as you would expect. And then because it's stop and go traffic, when it goes to a full stop again, then what it did was really interesting, because it almost, now you would see that the distance between me and the car ahead of me is decreasing. Okay, and now the turn light comes off for like a second, and then comes on again, and we are in full. We are fully stopped.
But just a note here, you did not ever press the brake pedal, because once you press the brake pedal, you reset the set mode and disable that assisted driving.
Exactly.
So,
You
okay,
cancel
so this is important, because
This
if
is
you
important.
accidentally hit that brake button, even for a split second, and then you go up to that BMW, you're going to be going into the back of the BMW.
Into the back of the BMW. Exactly. Even practically.
Or practically, yes. Theoretically and practically. But who knows? Okay.
And on during the high-speed driving, so on the highway, like there's probably not something to call out about the brake light. So yes, if the it works, the travel assist works the same way. If the cars ahead of you are braking rapidly, so if you see their brakes, then it's likely that the travel assist uses your brake lights as well.
And because you're a man of science and faith, it seems like you were trusting in that brake system during travel assist to stop your car, and you knew that you hadn't pressed the brake pedal at all in order to reset it. So bravo to you for just only using the gas pedal there in that mode.
Yeah, in the stop and go traffic, I found it quite reliable, especially if it's really like slow driving, like the city driving and stop and go. I find it very perfect.
So just to kind of recap, so our travel assist is when your car is helping you. You've got to have obviously faith in it, but turn it on into the mode, set it to make sure that the mode is truly enabled. I kind of like having that brake light there, because you can tell that you are stopping. You can feel it, of course, too.
Yeah, of course.
But it will decelerate, go to full stop, and mimic your driving kind of as if you were doing it manually. And it will completely stop you, as opposed to just the California stop that you get with the B or Bremsen or brake mode that we talked about earlier.
Exactly. So, Jeremy, hopefully we've answered all the questions here. When the light comes on, how long does it stay on, and how it's related to these different modes. I'm sure you have few more questions. If you do, please put them down in comments, and we'll take a look at those.
Thank you so much, Jan, for solving this mystery that I had as a first-time EV owner myself. It's good to know how these different modes and what happens how they work, and what happens when you take your foot off of the play button / acceleration pedal.
Yeah. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you so much for joining, and thank you all for watching. Please subscribe not to miss the next episode that we do with Jeremy about his smiley bus with Frank. First ever smiley bus in the world with Frank. You can't miss that.
Maybe the first Frank. Who knows? But we'll see you next time.
The first Frank. Exactly. Cool. Thank you. Bye.